Well, we're starting with a story that concerns and impacts each one of us. The finance minister announced the details of hotly debated goods and services tax yesterday. A number of changes are all set to take effect, but for the Aam Aadmi, this can be quite a confusing ordeal. Here at India Today, we've dedicated to making information more accessible to you. So let's take a look at this report where we decode everything you need to know about the GST rates and how they will impact you and your budget.
Moving swiftly towards the one nation, one tax regime. Finance Minister at the GST Council of Ministers crossing a crucial hurdle, as the council set the rates for key goods and services in the GST meeting held in Srinagar. It's a big cheer for the Aam Aadmi, as nearly 81% of items will be under the 18% tax bracket. The curtain has been lifted on rates for key items. Milk, jaggery and cereals have been exempted from the list under GST. Sugar, tea, coffee and edible oil will be taxed under 5%. Toothpaste, hair oil, soaps will be cheaper as the rate has been lowered from 28% to 18%. Indian sweets tax slabs is fixed at 5%. Coal will be taxed at 5% against the current 11.69%, which will directly impact electricity rates.
अब ये तो समझ में आ रहा है कि हम लोग जैसा पहले कह रहे थे कि एक कर और एक देश की बात कर रहे हैं, तो एक आम आदमी को रिलीफ मिलेगा.
Sources have told India Today that for those planning to buy four-wheelers, the small cars will be in 28% bracket and the cess and luxury cars will have higher cess.
My fear is that the present structure, the incidence of tax on most commodities have come down so much that it may not be revenue neutral. But the key question is whether the corporates would be willing to transfer the gain they make to the consumer.
Day one of GST Council meet is a good news for the Aam Aadmi here at Sher Kashmir International Convention Centre, where GST Council of Ministers met, where food grains will be cheaper, also shampoo, soaps, toothpaste will be cheaper. But along with it, if the suspense built for day two, will eating out get cheaper? What will be the services rate? Will buying gold get cheaper? That will be decided on day two. We'll get you all the updates right here. With video journalist Rauf Emma, this is Devina Gupta for India Today.
All right, joining us live now on First Up is Rajiv Dubey. He's managing editor of Business Today. But before we bring in the experts, I want to go across to my colleague Devina, who's been reporting live from Srinagar all of these days. Pardon me, Devina, first of all, what are we expecting from day two? Quickly fill us in on that.
Well, Padmaja, good morning to you as well. And what we're expecting on day two, hopefully good weather that will remain in Srinagar. And apart from that, at the GST Council meet, we're looking at the crucial discussion on the rates of gold. Where would it be pitched? Now, Kerala Finance Minister has asked for a higher tax slab from 1.5% to 5% for gold. Also, what we're looking at is services. That means whether eating out will get more expensive or not, how much you pay for if you go for a, if you go for a tourism aviation service, like if you fly out, those kind of services will be decided today on the day two of the GST meet. Also on discussion will be BDs. Now, it's very interesting because the government has given out a very strict no smoking policy, and they've come out hard on tobacco, but whether BDs, which are manufactured here in India, has a great industry as far as employing the ground workers are concerned, will that be also come under higher tax slabs will be discussed.
All right, Mr. Dubey, for the person on the street, essentially what is going to get cheaper for me and what is going to get prohibitively more expensive, or is that too early to tell?
Well, I think in most cases that you can make out that most FMCG products are going to be slightly cheaper. Things like soaps, hair oils, and things like that, which were consumer products for daily use. There, I think the finance minister had tried to make sure that they are lesser by about 5%. They were in the 23-24% range. They are now going to be 18%. If you look at cars, they might be just very slightly expensive. But if you look at the general philosophy of this GST tax rates, it is to make sure that it is least inflationary or not inflationary at all. You know, we have to remember that there are almost no instances of a government which has introduced GST anywhere in the world, in a democratic world, has ever come back to power after introducing GST, because it tends to be inflationary for up to 2 years, and we are going into elections in another 2 years. So I think the government is trying to make sure that wherever it impacts the common man, it's not inflationary, it doesn't hurt him. And I do expect that even in the services, the decision is going to be somewhere in the region of 14% 12% plus maybe some cess or something like that. I do not expect the services to be charged something like 18%, which will be hugely inflationary in every which way, whether it is your telephone bills or your DTH services or your restaurant services. So I do expect that this trend that we are seeing is going to continue for the rates that are going to be decided today.
All right, just stay with me, both of you, because yesterday Devina also spoke to the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir about what she thinks the GST rates, what she thinks about the GST rates, the implementation, and whether it will benefit her state or not. Let's listen in to Mehbooba Mufti.
See, it is a historic occasion also because there is a lot of misinformation, disinformation in our country about the situation in Kashmir. Now you have been here, you have seen it for yourself. GST, no doubt, is going to be a revolutionary step. And as the Honorable Finance Minister has already mentioned, that keeping in view the special status of Jammu and Kashmir, we will, carve out a way to implement the same in our state. And I'm sure being a consumer state, it's going to benefit us a lot. And at the same time, we all welcome you, and we're happy to have you here. And also, we hope that when you go back, you go as ambassadors of our state and see for yourself how the situation is.
Ma'am, you had a great meeting with Defence Minister. You've asked for a special package for the state. Please tell us about that as well.
Well, he has already been very generous about the whole thing, and we have already missed a lot since last year. The situation was bad, but this year, he has been very generous, and we are going to make up for that.
In fact, if we just step away from the GST rates for a second, Devina, it was quite a remarkable out-of-the-box idea to actually have this GST meeting in Srinagar, especially keeping in mind the happenings of the recent past. Was this a strong message also being sent out by the government in that sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Padmaja. In fact, we've seen the unprecedented security measures here. Over 800 policemen have been deployed, choppers have been deployed as well. You have special gadgets to ensure that when we go into the Sher-e-Kashmir International Convention Center, the entire area is also cordoned off with the houseboats which have police officials on it. So security has been unprecedented, and in that backdrop, to have the GST meet here in Srinagar, I can tell you for a fact, Padmaja, as a business journalist, many of us haven't come to the state, and to come here and see it as well after the unrest that spread around in Srinagar, it is quite overwhelming to see people's response out here. And that's the reason why we had the GST meeting, which even the Kashmir Finance Minister Haseeb Drabu has called perhaps the economic revolution, stepping out from Srinagar to ensure that Srinagar is also part of India's policy making circles. It's not only Mumbai and Delhi which get the larger pie, and also the message is to say that there could be perhaps a Srinagar declaration for the GST, a historic moment in the books as well, and Srinagar being a viable economic spot for the government, where the BJP is in alliance with the PDP, a strong reaffirmation coming from the ally there as well, and confidence which is much needed under the leadership of Mehbooba Mufti. We've gone around and spoken to people as well. Okay. When GST comes to Srinagar, it's also about business for the locals, and that's where we actually see the people-to-people integration.
Rajiv Dubey, these rates, are there benefits actually going to be passed on to the consumers? For example, this 18% for FMCG products, are the companies going to be passing on this benefit to the consumers? Will it actually trickle down to us?
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. There is a no profit clause in the GST law, and it's a non-bailable offense. It's a You know, so it's not possible for a company to retain any profits being made out of the implementation of GST. They will have to, by law, pass it on to the consumer. They do not have a choice.
All right. Thank you very much, Rajiv Dubey, for joining us. Let's quickly take you through the list of all of these items which are going to get more expensive or cheaper, where you can see in those graphics, jaggery, for example, is going to get cheaper. And a final word I'll get from my colleague Devina Gupta in Srinagar. Devina, what was the general sense among all the ministers from the various states who had come in? Is everyone happy with what they've heard so far?
Absolutely, Padmaja. What we're looking at is that 80% of the goods, and this is for our viewers' benefit as well, will be under 18% tax slab. That means most of the consumer durables that you've seen would be in about 28%. FMCG have been pegged at 18%. Your daily usage items will be on a lower tax side. Cereals have been exempted and so has been milk. Jaggery, which is good, has been exempted. If you are fond of drinking coffee, the instant coffee, you might have to shell out more from here on. But the major part today, as I've mentioned earlier, will be the services sector, and that's where we don't see much of consensus, because the Congress rule states have demanded that services should be capped at a lower end. But will that be possible or not? We'll have to wait and watch whether consensus can be built on lower services sector. My sense is that it could be around 18%, which is higher than 15%. So there could be some pocket pinching reality news that we'll be looking at from the GST Council meeting. We're expecting the announcement anytime between 3 and 4 p.m. today, and we could be looking at more shake-up to your household budget while you save, or if you want to eat at home. But if you want to eat outside, you'll have to shell out more.
Rajiv Dubey, what is the big message that the government has tried to send out, that this is a people-friendly government, that even despite all of these measures, at the end of the day, we are going to go ahead with economic reform, even if it doesn't seem politically very prudent?
Yes, I think so, and I think it's also about the commitment that the government is showing about 1 July implementation of GST. Remember, the businesses are very keen that it does get implemented on July 1, because beyond that, if it does, get deferred to something like September, it's going to affect the, the festive season sales. And the other important message that has come through in this is that the government is very keen that reinvestment on capex starts, and that is why if you see the capital goods duty that has come down from 28% to 18%, it's a very strong message to the corporate sector, to the private sector, to start reinvesting in building new capacities so that there's more employment generation and other industries do kick in.
All right, Devina also wants to come in at this point.
Yes, Padmaja, just one big point that we need to discuss as well, as what Rajiv is saying, the implementation will be a key hurdle. We've already seen a survey that's been done, and with 68% of states have said that we won't be able to implement and meet the July 1st deadline. So these are 68% of businesses in states that have been surveyed who have said that we don't have the wherewithal. GST and network, which has been at the backbone of implementing it, because there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of mechanized and computerized system that will be coming in to ensure that one tax, one nation is a reality. That will be also, we'll have to wait and watch for that. And hence, July 1st, though could be an official announcement date, what we're also hearing is September 1st is what we could see the eventual all-out rollout. And from here on, because this is a historic moment where we'll be seeing at least a fitment in the tax slabs that's been given by the government of 5, 12, 18 and 28% plus the cess. Most of the goods announced yesterday in 200 pages list as well. What from here on will be the challenge is how to ensure that small businesses in nukkars and bazaars will be informed about the new rules and will be able to comply with them.
Do you think, Rajiv Dubey, that most of the concerns of the various states have been addressed? Because especially the manufacturing states were not very happy with GST. Are all of those concerns addressed now?
No, I think there is still a lot of tussle going on between states. There are many states which have demanded, certain exemptions, and the government center is not very keen on too many items falling in either in the negative list or in the exempt list. But there are still states demanding a lot of exemptions, and I think that's the kind of jostling that's going on in the discussions between the various finance ministers of the states. But I think by and large there is consensus evolving. If you see that the services sector being left for today, if you see that composition, which was the 9th item which was to be included, being left for today, composition is one of the critical things to be which is impacting the small and medium enterprises, businesses under 50 lakhs of rupees of turnover per annum. So I think those are the tricky issues, and those are the ones that are going to be discussed today in detail, and hopefully there will be consensus emerging out of that.
All right, Rajiv Dubey, Devina Gupta, thank you very much for joining us on that story. Of course, big concern for the consumers at the end of the day. How much money is being taken out of my pocket by the government? Hope we help simplify that for you.